Dude, how much time do we have left? Can we talk about this Omar the Khadr thing? This is Khadr.
Yeah.
It's just the worst possible thing that.
Go ahead.
I cannot believe this. First of all,
Well, give us a bit of an epilogue before you get there.
His father was a close associate of bin Laden. Okay, the kid was trained there to become a terrorist. The father, the uncle, they were all terrorists. The kid was a teenager, okay?
15.
Through the
He was
grenade,
15 years old.
through the grenade that killed an American.
It's the they don't know that for a fact.
Okay.
It's alleged.
Okay, but whatever that, he actually, in the whole skirmish sort of thing, right? There was another officer that actually saved his life. Okay, he was going to bleed out. Okay, so now in the midst of all this stuff about the American want to get their hands on him, and they send him to Guantanamo Bay, and they do all this stuff
For most of his life.
to get him to confess. Okay, and they're saying the kid's a teenager, blah blah blah.
He was 15. They waterboarded him, and they kept him awake for over 1 week.
Okay, so in the midst of all this, then he gets sent back to Canada, okay, because Canada's going to rescue the guy, because God forbid what they did to our poor Canadian boy. Now, in the midst of all this, and there was a lawsuit in the U.S. in which the widow.
Try to take a step back and just do a narrative and not your opinion. I'll get your opinion.
Okay, all right. Anyhow, the news is on July the 4th, the most sacred day of the American nation. The Canadian, there's a story that comes out that Canada's going to give him $10.5 million, and there's going to be an apology. Now, absolutely, here's my, Frank, you don't want me to, it's fucking appalling is what it is. It is absolutely appalling.
But I'm glad you brought it up, and I was going to wait for our friend from Ottawa to come on here. But hear me out. I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I really do. He's a kid. They, in my view, if everything I've read is the truth, they coerced him into a confession. You know, if you haven't slept for a week and they're shoving water down your throat, where you feel, which is called waterboarding, right? And you feel like you're going to drown. You get to the point where you'll say anything for them to stop. And a 15-year-old kid, the allegation is that he threw this grenade and it killed a soldier. And then they tried to take a 15-year-old. So here's my problem with all of it. What would a 15-year-old know? Let's say he's guilty of all the allegations that he threw the grenade, but he's a 50-year-old. What would he know about the high chain of command? What would he know of any of the people involved in Al-Qaeda or bin Laden, which at that time was being funded by the United States of America as a freedom fighter against the tyranny of the Russians in Afghanistan? Am I incorrect in anything I'm saying right now?
I don't know that it was being funded by the U.S. Maybe you know more about it than I do.
Well, bin Laden was
the Bush
funded.
family.
No.
Okay.
No. The Bush family was friends with bin Laden's family, the business people.
That's right.
But bin Laden,
Right.
the guy who was killed,
That's right.
who was behind the World Trade Centers, was funded by the military of the United States of America to fight the Russians that were trying to take Afghanistan.
Did not know that.
You did not know that?
I did not know that.
Which should not be, when the whole Oliver North thing is, the America wants to pay some people in there to sort of be their watchdog.
So did you not know that bin Laden was funded by the United States to
Honestly,
fight against?
I didn't know that, but I don't see the relevance of a guy who turned his back on the Americans and decided he was going to blow them up.
I feel like the guy who was running for president and they asked him about Aleppo.
We know who that guy is.
Oh, the guy from Baltimore, the mayor of Baltimore, the Democrat, third guy in the Democratic.
No, was he? What was it? The Green Party? What party was?
O'Malley, I think.
No. That's not him. Who was the guy who ran? Was it the Green Party? The guy who didn't know Aleppo, and then another interview was like this.
Yeah, I think the answer.
The Libertarian Party.
The Libertarian Party. Remember, show that interview where he's got his tongue sticking out. So you guys didn't know that bin Laden was a creation?
Let's make it a clean sweep. Bill, did you know that bin Laden was being
funded
by the U.S. military to take out the Russians?
No, to
Yes,
fight
I did.
against the Russians.
Right, okay.
Not take out. You guys fucking stop
okay,
doing
stop.
fake
Okay,
shit.
All right.
To fight and
rephrase it.
defend
Let
and
me rephrase
defend.
it. Bill, did you know
War.
that? Did you know that, Bill?
Yes,
Yes, I did, John. I don't say it because you didn't, but I knew that.
Okay.
So I'm surprised that you, as a journalist, Perry, did not know that.
Frank,
And you also know that. You know that. You also know. Don't shake your fucking
Because
head.
I'm saying-
like the
I'm
rubber
talking
duck.
about-
And you also know. You also know
Yeah.
that in Iraq, right?
Yeah.
Saddam Hussein was a creation of the American military.
okay.
To go. Did you not know that?
Frank, even if I said yes, my point is strictly about this kid.
I'm-
Can we get back on this kid?
But I'm trying to get
Yeah.
to the kid. I'm trying to give you a narrative
Yeah.
that the kid did not know bin Laden, like in the sense what his ideology was. He was just a kid following what his dad did, right? He was innocent. And I really believe that the Supreme Court of Canada made the right decision. And I think that the evidence is there. It's in, the kid was 15. He spent most of his life in Guantanamo Bay
Yeah.
in isolation. They tortured him. They tortured the shit out of him. And when you get tortured, especially people on this panel, if they take away your fucking milk privileges, you'll fucking talk. I'm fucking telling you that.
Frank, when you wear me down and ask me a question, yes or no, and I go, yes, to
No,
give me
Perry,
the
Perry,
answer.
I don't want you to give me a yes or no here, buddy.
Yeah.
I respect your intelligent and your intellect, and you're very perceptive. I'm trying to say that it's a 15-year-old kid, and I believe that the allegations that he was associated with Al-Qaeda, that he knew everything about Al-Qaeda, is very fucking naive on anybody who knows that. Do I agree that he should get 10 million bucks? Yeah, I do.
You do?
I do. I'll tell you why. They took his fucking life away.
He took somebody else's life away. And you're going to say allegedly? Okay, we'll use the allegedly for 100 million fucking times, right?
They took his life away because, listen, he was told to do that, and he was a kid, but they said that if that's the truth, nobody knows the fucking truth. That's the allegation, right? And they're basing it on a confession that was squeezed and beaten the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
That's my point.
And in Canada, like if you're a 15-year-old and you murder somebody, right?
If they have
you're not
proof.
going to go to jail because of the rules,
No,
the statutes
you're
pertaining
wrong. You're
to
wrong. You'll go to jail because they just tried some kids in Western Canada, and they got convicted of first-degree and second-degree murder. They're 16 years old. They killed a young girl because they just wanted to know what it was like to kill somebody. They got convicted.
I'm just trying
Today,
to,
it was
okay.
today.
Okay, so
All I'm just trying to tell you is, there's the first. You see the first picture? That's the kid. That's the one they took, put him in isolation, and beat the shit out of him every single fucking day.
the second one.
The first.
No, it's the second one. That's what he was like when they got him.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's
thought
what
you
I just
the
said.
first one. Okay, all right.
The first one is that's the kid that went to Guantanamo Bay, and they beat the shit out of him. There's the middle, and there's the guy who just got out in third stage. Are you familiar with Sacco and Vanzetti?
No.
Are you familiar with Sacco and Vanzetti, Bill? You're old enough to remember that.
Well, that's
They were two Italian immigrants. I think one was a shoemaker and the other guy was a barber, and they were accused of murdering somebody.
Good movie, too. Who was in it?
I'm talking about the fucking story, not
Yeah,
the
I know,
fucking
but
movie.
just help me out.
I never watched the movie. I don't know.
For people who don't know them.
But I don't know the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't never watch the movie. I did a paper on it when I was in school, and they were found innocent after the fact. But they were both. I think they got the electric chair. I mean, they confessed because they got the shit kicked out of them. I'm just saying. The Supreme Court of Canada is a very respectable court. It's got some great judges, and they came out with this decision. So, if you argue with the Supreme Court of Canada, right, then you really don't believe in our judicial system.
No, Frank.
I'm not talking to you.
Okay,
I'm
just
talking
in general, in a
general.
roundabout.
That's
Who
correct.
was the guy who was sentenced to jail for like 22 years? Was it Milgard? Is that who it was?
Yes,
Is that right?
yeah.
And when he got out, and then they gave him money, right, as compensation for being wrongfully convicted. Weigh one against the other. Now I know you're going to say we don't know definitively that he threw the grenade. All right, whatever. Okay.
But
To
it's
say that
that's a great analogy because I think Milgard should have got the same amount of money that this guy got, but I guess his lawyer wasn't as good as this guy's lawyer.
Yeah, what it's different times, whatever.
10.5.
Again, I'm going to say that on the 4th of July, when you come out with this information, just
Yeah, the
it's
timing was a
wrong
little
to
odd.
begin with. It's an
Well, the Americans-
it's an
the timing
insult
was
to the
a little
Americans.
odd.
An
Well,
insult.
no, I don't think it's an insult to the Americans because it's basically calling them out that in Guantanamo Bay,
Gitmo, they call it.
Guantanamo Bay, I can enunciate it. They beat the shit out of them. There's some huge atrocities that go on there, right? And I'm sure, I mean, let's not be fucking Mother Teresa here. I'm sure there's massive atrocities that happen in other prisons in the Middle East. And the best example I can give you is what happened to the American kid in North Korea,
Yeah,
where they sent him back basically brain dead. And I'm sure that when they beat the hell out of him, they didn't expect him to go in a coma.